What's up, family? It is Sage with Spirit Trek, and I've come to discuss heaven and hell and what is sin. So once again, we are out here in nature. I really enjoy doing videos out here on the trail or even the beach, just because my thought flows much more effortlessly in nature. My heart flows more easily in nature. I'm more connected, I'm more rooted, I'm more grounded, and I'm more curious. So why not make a video here of all places? I want to discuss heaven and hell, and also sin, of course, because they're intertwined. And as you know, and as I'm sure you've been dealing with, heaven and hell and has been taught through religions and other doctrines for thousands of years. I myself have been exposed to it my entire life. Growing up, I was in the Christian system very heavily. Every week, I was in it, reading the Bible, loving it, praying, all of it, 100%. And my biggest fear was going to hell, disappointing God, being a sinner, not being born again, and going to hell. That was my fear. And through that fear of hell, my life was completely shifted. Sin being the ultimate law, being the ruler of my life. Conviction from God and going to hell being the ultimate punishment. Now, years later, I'm, as you can tell, not of the faith anymore. But these ideas of heaven, hell, and sin, and even the entire Bible, do have some relevance and do have truths all throughout it. So how do I see heaven and hell now? Heaven and hell. Well, first, let's look at direction. Often we consider heaven to be upward and hell to be downward. This is for several reasons. I will address two different perspectives of the same idea. The first being energy and its vibrational frequency, and how heaven states can be considered to be at a higher vibration, a faster and higher level vibration, a higher dimension. So whenever we think of higher, we think of better, right? More. When you look at lower vibrational frequencies or lower vibrations, you think of what? Not much good normally. We think of darkness, which also ties to lower vibration. We think of fear. We think of evil, hotness, pain. All of these negative things come along with that, right? Now, granted, all things are dual in this reality. So what we might see as dark or evil might not be all that. It has two sides, like all things. The second way to look at direction is the body and earth. We often look upward, but direction in our external reality is non-existent. There's no actual direction in terms of X, Y, and Z coordinates. What is up can be down somewhere else, and left can be right elsewhere, and so forth and so on. Now, it's not like we're saying that heaven is north and hell is south, but often we see it as up or down, high or low. And that is in reference to the body, where the head or even the crown is at the high point, and the roots or the feet, the Muladhara chakra, all these things are at the low points. And also, when we look at vibrations, crown is a very high vibration. It has many petals and lotuses on the actual design, and whereas the root is a lower vibration, it's a red, right? And the root is the furnace. It is the foundation, and it is in all this stuff, so don't get it twisted. That is also a part of you, and a very important part of you. But it is the furnace of the body. It is the survival of the body. It is the lower regions. But it builds the foundation for everything else. Whereas a crown is a state of ecstasy, or a state of realization and awakening and of oneness, which can be seen as heaven. Now, I love to speak on the idea of heaven on earth. Heaven on earth to me is a very real thing. Many of us are taught that heaven is for the afterlife. Hell is for the afterlife. People will even suffer through hell on earth just to get to heaven in this unforeseen future, right? And to me, that doesn't make much sense. Why would I subject myself or just sit through hell here hoping for a better life next time? It doesn't make much sense. But anyways, heaven on earth is real. Hell on earth is real. See, because time is singular. Time is right now. This is the moment, right? This is the moment in time we have. We are already multidimensional and exist in different planes. Now, first I will discuss heaven and hell on earth from this consciousness and perception of reality, from this earthly existence. And how this appears is your state of being, your conscious awareness, your energetic states, your ability to operate. But most perception. I'm going to sit for this one. If you shift your perception, you shift your reality. If you shift your body's energies and its current, then you shift your reality. You must change yourself. You must go inward to reach this state of heaven on earth. That is how it comes. It doesn't come from buying nice things and living lavishly and having all these women or men in your life or whatever else that you desire on this earthly carnal realm. It comes from an internal seeking, cleansing, activation, actualization process. So heaven on earth comes from a self-mastery of sorts. And then from doing this, you must also release judgments of others and self. You must also merge much of your ego with oneness and with all that is. In doing so, you open yourself to more limitless expansion, experiences, and ways of perceiving reality. This is how heaven on earth is accomplished and reached. This is how we get there. This is how we do the work. And although I have not reached the mountaintop, and there really is no mountaintop, we are limitless beings that continue to ascend and evolve through the infinite expanses of time, right? But what I'm trying to say is that I have seen enough of what can be accomplished and experienced in this human form to tell you that yes, it is real, and yes, we can get there and continue to get there and continue to get there and continue, because it never ends, right? It never ends. This is a real thing. But this is where sin comes in. Sin is disharmony. Sin is going against the nature of the spirit and of this body and form. Sin is against self. Sin is a crime against yourself. And it's not always directly rooted to your physical action. It's very possible to be, to hit somebody or to, curse all the time. Damn. And you're not sinning. Sinning is a very spiritual experience. And there are many times where even doing something that you deem as good or righteous, might actually go against the self. For example, let's say you're trying to be a good person and you're constantly trying to help people. You're constantly trying to, assist, and that's beautiful. I mean, I'm doing the same. It's a great thing. But at what cost? What are you sacrificing in that experience? What are you exposing yourself to and allowing to enter into your vessel in those experiences? What are you in the presence of during these experiences? Are you losing your soul to save another? These are important concepts or questions to ask yourself when doing anything. But once again, it goes back to all the self. That's why things such as thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not lie, which is lying to yourself as well, thou shalt not, covet one's wife. These things are very tricky, right? These commandments are very tricky. And you wonder why they even there. Like, why these 10? Why not the other? Well, some of these obviously have grounding in law and societal structures and conditioning that existed during those times in history. Some of them have firm standing in the knowing of what's right and wrong, good and evil, as the Bible even says, right? But let's not get too deep into that part of the conversation right now. Let's get back on topic. So sin is a knowing within yourself of what you should be and should not be doing. It comes down to that, as simple as that. Yourself, your mind, your higher selves, it intuitively and consciously at most times knows what you shouldn't do. And when you do those things, you sin against yourself. And the judgment for these sins is you're not able to be admitted into heaven, right? Because God will judge you and deem you unworthy of that place, that realm of existence. When really you are the judge. And your vessel is heaven. And your actions, your will, your determinations will determine if you can enter into that state of existence or being. And if you cannot enter into that being, it was on your own doing. Your own conditioning, your own actions, your own neglects, all these things will determine what reality you end up in. Not whether, you believe in, this being, or you pray to this person, or if you help this person the other week. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. I'll leave it at that. Now, why is this such a big deal? Why is it so hard for us to accept? It makes sense. At least I think it makes great sense. That is because it takes immense responsibility. It takes immense accountability for yourself, self-awareness, and work. We just assume that, you say a prayer, you bow down, you go to a temple or mosque or whatever it might be, you read the Bible, you read the Quran, or, whatever, anything. It could even be like the Book of the Dead. And by you doing these deeds, you will enter into the kingdom. No, it's more. It's self-work we're talking about. Because your vessel, your spirit, has to be able to even experience what that is. And if you're not of that vibration at which these high states of existence are in, you'll be spit out. You will not be able to enter. It's like when you're trying to exit the atmosphere on Earth, the rocket ship has to be at such a high velocity. That's why you burn so much fuel in the escape process. You fight in gravity, you have to fight the atmosphere pressures and all these things to get into space. Same with the body. If you're not at the right velocity, the right vibrational frequency, you can't enter. You won't be able to exit and experience that next reality for yourself. Now this is glorious. This is precious. This is beautiful, right? Because it puts the power back into your hands. You're no longer avoiding sin because you're afraid of being judged by God. You're avoiding sin because it's not good for you. And that will lead to self-judgment. You're saying, dang, I shouldn't have done that. Damn, that was stupid. Why do I do that? And you do those things because you realize that it's hurting yourself. It's pulling your vibrations down. And if you go far enough, that's when these hell realms come. That's when these dark spaces start to enter into your life, or you enter into them, these spaces. Dante's Inferno. And that is also a personal decision. The danger in this is that if you go too low in these spaces, getting out and rising back out becomes that much harder. So be very mindful of which direction internally you are traveling. What is your body doing? What is your mind doing? What is your spirit doing? Don't worry about accumulating so many things to create heaven through these energetic forms around you. Worry about what is my vessel, my mind, my spirit, and even the mind is confusing because the mind is vast. What are those things doing? How am I growing in those areas? And then you will realize that your reality, what you see, will begin to shift. How you perceive will begin to shift. How you experience will begin to shift. What you extract from your experiences will begin to enhance. And it is my hope, it is my belief, it is my, I will say, knowing that we will, many of us, begin to experience this heavenly state. Heaven is very abstract, but heaven is very real in the sense of it is a better state of existence than we are experiencing now. What I think of when I think of heaven, I think of pure bliss, ecstasy, communication, communion, unconditional love, creativity. I might have said it already, but it's important. Expression of cells. Just overall greatness, right? Think of hell, you think of parasites, you think of darkness, you think of counterproductivity, you think of loss, you think of confusion, craziness, chaos, fighting, death. That is what we are creating, or have been creating for many years. We have built that reality for ourselves. And now it's time for us to get out of that funk and climb the ladders, hit the Jacob's ladder, into heaven on earth. Because this earth is pretty amazing if you haven't noticed yet. We can live how we want to live. We can experience how we want to experience. We must simply choose that for ourselves and then for the collective. So let's do it, family. Let's make this thing real. Love yourself, which means to not sin against yourself, which can mean many things depending on who you are and what you're experiencing. It's not just 10 things. It's not just a million things. It could be, for you right now, a handful of things that you need to focus on and say, okay, let me not do that anymore. That's not conducive to my benefit and growth. There you go. When you do that, that's a sin against self. And when you sin against yourself, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Be compassionate towards yourself. Love yourself. Move through it. We all fall short, but we all have the opportunity to rise back up and do it again. Grow, evolve, transcend, ascend, inscend, love, understand, know. That being said, family, please subscribe to my channel as I am constantly growing, sharing, loving. Check out my brand new website, spirittrek.com. It's popping. It's beautiful. I love it. And much love, family. Wholeness.